And we're back at the Honda Classic, played in near Jupiter, Florida, where a lot of these guys either live or kind of grew up playing the game. Some of these guys, like Berger, kind of grew up in the area, and then other guys, some of these Euro guys, make their homes nearby. Probably more so on the East, just because everything is more condensed and um, it's easier to get from Europe to the East Coast than it is from Europe to the West Coast, where I am. Little recap of last week. Ali and Cash basically screwed me, and yeah, so going with him over Cantlay, decision in hindsight, really didn't make too much sense. Cantlay is the better overall golfer, and he has been for quite some time. Super consistent guy, and I don't think he's missed a cut since he's come back to tour play. So I think I chased some upside there with Ali, chased the popular play, but didn't really dive deep enough and realize that Ali was more of a GPP play, and Cantlay was the clear cash play. So, um, hindsight's 2020 there, but I still think that I should have seen it coming. Similar in vein to the Norin and Vegas incident a few weeks back, where it was all over Johnny Vegas at 7,700. Form and course history were matching up, and then Norin was clearly the better player, but no history at I think it was Torrey. Yeah, it was Torrey at the Farmers. So I moved off of Norin to go to Vegas, and that didn't go too well. We finally saw Ches Reavie come back to earth. He totally bombed the weekend. Um, I followed him around a little bit on Wednesday when I went to the Pro-Am. Saw him on Friday. Saw him up at the clubhouse, actually, Riviera. You can go right up to the clubhouse where the players sign their cards, and uh, he was coming outside and talking to people. Told him good luck on the weekend. Obviously, did not go too well for young Ches. Also saw Ryan Moore. He didn't pull it out, but yeah, got some good shots, some good action with Tiger, Phil. I got the Kuchar fist bump, which was cool. I got Tommy Fleetwood thank you for saying let's go Tommy. Um, what else? Justin Thomas. I got about like 3 feet from Rory and his caddy. So yeah, Genesis Open was a really cool experience. Got pictures with Finau, Ali, Ches, autographs from Keegan, Rafa, Spieth, um, some others too. I'd have to pull out the program and look at them. They're over there. But yeah, if you ever get the chance to go to an event, I would highly suggest going. Even if you're not the biggest fan of golf, even if you're just a fantasy golf player, you're just a DFS degenerate. Yeah, I highly suggest going. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet Dr. J too. Dr. J was there. Reggie Bush was there. Met those guys, so that was really cool. Besides that, yeah, kind of got crushed in DFS. Um, Thomas Peters ejecting on Sunday with us, closing 78. That wasn't good for me either. So I got close to cash, but yeah, basically just can't lay over Ali, and I would have hit all formats, and it would be a totally different result. But that said, we move on. I also moved my Bubba shares to Keegan, which was a bad idea, and yeah, we all know how that turned out. Yeah, All-Star Game narrative put him in more of a happy place than distracted him, and paid the price for it. I paid the price for it. So that said, yep, we're moving on to the Honda Classic. We are on the Florida swing now. We've got Bermuda grass. We've got a par 70 course, not very long, but the rough is not where you want to be. This course is very wet. There's a lot of water around this course. Most of the holes bring water into play. We have the infamous bear trap. This is really one of the hardest courses these guys are going to play this year. And I'm kind of glad it comes after Riviera, which is a difficult course, not as difficult, but it's a very difficult course. for different reasons. There's not really any water at Riviera, none at all, actually. That was one thing my buddies noticed when we were there. They're like, "Where's the water on this course? I thought golf courses have water." Well, not all of them do. Riviera does not have water; it's protected by other things. Um, the layout of the course itself at Riviera is a big reason why the course is difficult. The bunkers, the greens themselves, the shape of them, all of that serves to make Riviera a very, very difficult course. It was also very firm this year because we did not have any rain like in years past. So, yeah, Ricky Fowler's the favorite here, defending champ with 3 top 10s in his record here. No worse than 41st, except for 2 missed cuts, but those were his 2 first times here, so I give him a pass. I should mention this course underwent like a semi-remodel 3 years ago, so you can take that for what it's worth. I'm not going to weigh that too heavily, so that's that. But I've got key stats: strokes gained approach, strokes gained ball striking, which will incorporate off the tee and approach. So I don't really have off the tee there because you can kind of see it reflected in the ball striking metric. Birdie or better, obviously, always want to have your guys making birdies. I'm going to adjust that column. Bogey avoidance. This is a course where the winning score is not going to be very high. I expect a cut over par, something like 2 or 3 over par actually for the cut line. So, some of these guys that are very volatile might, you might want to avoid these guys more this week and go with the grinders. But recent form is going to be a little weird this week because we're changing to Florida. So some of these guys that really thrive on the West Coast swing, we might see them drop off a little bit. Some of these guys that don't thrive really until the Florida swing, we might see them get a little bit of a rise. So it's going to be difficult to predict some of these guys this week, but and then due to the par 70 nature of this course, I have par 4 scoring. Par 4s dominate the percent of holes, and I have par 5s as well because par 5 scoring makes up about 25% of DraftKings points on this course. So par 5s, par 4s. Par 3s are difficult, but I'm not really... I could potentially focus on those a little bit more, but the scoring on the par 4s doesn't really tend to provide DraftKings scoring. You're more looking for guys that are going to par those holes and make birdies on the par 4s and the par 5. Particularly 18, I think, is a eagleable hole for a lot of these guys. So could provide for a very exciting finish. That said, we can move on to... Yep. Okay. So I've got it sorted by odds right now, and I've added in fantasy draft salaries. I decided that I'd throw a couple bucks into fantasy draft and see how the pricing and stuff is going over there. Pricing is basically reflecting the odds over there, so makes it easier, I think, to make my decisions actually, because I know who I want at certain odds and who I think I might not want at certain odds, like who I think is a good value. So I'll talk about all 3 sites' salaries and a little bit of strategy for the kind of lineups that I'm building. But yeah, we'll get right into it at the top with Ricky Fowler, defending champ. Great par 4 score, great putter. Putted the lights out here last year to win. I do think Fowler is the top overall play. I think the pricing has that right. I think the odds reflect that properly as well. But it's a price play where the pricing on DraftKings is sharper this week. There's not as much glaring 40 to 50 to 1 value as we've had in a few weeks past, like Ollie at 40 to 1 at 7,600. Cantlay at 50 to 1 was 7,600. There's not as many of those guys this week. There are some, but there's not as many. So I've kind of narrowed those guys down for us here. But yeah, I mean, you can build Ricky lineups. The thing is, I like Ricky and Sergio a lot. So uh, I'm not going to be starting my cash lineups with Ricky this week, but I do think you want some shares of him in GPP if you're mass entering. I don't know, or you could just make a Ricky lineup and fade Sergio if you wanted. You can also pair Ricky and Sergio. It is possible. You're going to be uncomfortable with your lineup most likely, but it is a possible pairing. So yeah, Ricky, top overall play for me, but at the same time, the price is baked into that. So I won't be having him in cash, but on FanDuel, you can definitely plug him in cash, actually. I'd take that back. FanDuel cash, I'm going to have probably one Ricky, one Sergio lineup. But that said, you can play them both on FanDuel, but again, you're going to be missing out on some of these 9K guys that I really like on FanDuel. So I think that's more of a GPP strategy, where you hope the 9K guys don't hit, and you hope that your 8K guys really do. So Justin Thomas, I have the GPP plays for me in blue this week. Bold plays are kind of my favorite like cash consideration plays. So we are going to go down to Justin Thomas. I saw Justin Thomas play last week with Tiger and Rory. Really fun group there. But yeah, we know what Justin Thomas is. He's a very good player on tour at this point. One of the top 10 in the world. And his history here is very up and down. Now, I do think Justin Thomas is a great play this week. He will go under-owned compared to Ricky and Sergio, just due to the volatility in his history here. But his form has been very, very solid. We haven't seen the volatile Justin Thomas this year so far, really. So I do like Justin Thomas. If he's going to be lower owned, you can leverage off of Ricky a little bit, and I do like that play. So I would rather play Justin Thomas, I think, than Rory, with Rory's last two miscuts here. Rory miscut in the 20th on this West Coast swing since he's came over. Just hasn't been playing as well as JT, and Rory's going to be a little more pricey. So I do like JT over Rory this week. That kind of says where I am on Rory. I think he's a GPP play. He'll probably be the lowest owned of these top four guys, but that said, I probably just won't be playing him. I'd rather just have Thomas and this next guy, Sergio Garcia, defending Masters champ. Great ball striker, which is important here. We don't have stats for him because he has not been playing over here, but his form has been very good over in Europe. He has won twice since the fall swing. He won the Valderrama Masters and this Singapore event, which was like Pro-Am or something. I don't really know what it was, but 30 seconds a few weeks ago in one of the Abu Dhabi or Dubai tournaments, and then his history here is very good as well. So I like Sergio a lot here. If the wind picks up, I don't have any worries about him. He's a great wind player. He's used to it. Tyrell Hatton is going to be a player that I'm targeting this week. FanDuel, he is too cheap, especially for his odds. Fantasy draft, I'm not really on that price range too much. DraftKings 9,500 is a good price. You can easily make balanced lineups. Sergio Hatton or Fleetwood Hatton, or you can't really fit all three of them, but you can put a Ricky Hatton, you can put Ricky Fleetwood, you can go with any of those combinations and kind of anchor your lineup with those guys. So I do like Hatton this week. He pulled out of the Perth like 6-hole match play thing. I don't know what it's called, but Super 6. Yeah, he pulled out of that with a wrist injury, but it might be more of a finger quotes wrist injury than an actual wrist injury. I'm not sure how much he wanted to fly to Australia and play 6-hole matches against these other guys. So I don't really have a take on the wrist injury thing. We just know that wrist injuries are generally bad, bad, bad. So the thing is, like, I've been burned by this kind of like, oh, get scared by Jason Day's back, Bubba's celebrity game bullshit, and I don't want Hatton's wrist to be the next in line there. So I'm probably going to play him as normal. FanDuel cash play, DraftKings. I don't really see myself playing him in cash the way my lineup build is going. Um, I'd rather be targeting him on FanDuel. I think he's got a little more value, but DraftKings, I think you can play him in cash there, but it's just it's not what I'm going to be doing. The wrist injury thing is making him more of a GPP play for me on DraftKings. FanDuel, I'm more comfortable putting him in cash just because of the way the build goes. I can reach him easily. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. So that said, Gary Woodland is going to be an interesting play here. He has two very, very good results and then three pretty bad results. So his recent form has been very good. I'm giving him a pass for the miscut after his win. It was a very emotional win, huge win for him after a very emotional, difficult season last year with some family stuff. So I think he can make things right this week. But with Gary Woodland, par 4, par 5 scoring, that's his forte. Ball striking, he fits the mold really well here. So I really like him. But it's a price thing for me where he's overpriced given his full body of work. I'm just not really going to be on him too much. I'm more enamored with like Hatton and Fleetwood for cheaper. You save a little bit of money. That said, I think more people will do that, and Woodland will be lower owned as a result. Take that for what it's worth. Tommy Fleetwood has been playing really well since he's made the move over here. 37th last week at the Genesis. I think basically he had like one hole in the final round where he just kind of botched it, and that really threw him off. Threw him from like 20 something to 37th. So, his results on the Euro Tour have been fantastic all year. So, I really like Fleetwood, one of the best ball strikers in the world. If it gets windy, I think he's fine with that because he is British and grew up playing links golf. So, I do like Fleetwood a lot here. I think he'll be just fine this week. My only concern is kind of like with Hatton last year. He might not like this Bermuda rough and Bermuda greens, and that might throw him off a bit. But it doesn't deter me from playing him in GPPs. I'm not going to really be on him in cash. It's just, again, not the way my build is going. I think there are not more proven options, but there are similar options down the board a little bit more. GPP, I love some Fleetwood Hatton, Sergio, those kind of pairings that I was talking about. Alex Noren, I like Noren a lot here. I don't think anyone's going to play him at 10-1. 15-3 on Fantasy Draft is probably a better price for him. But, yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to be playing him here this week. Solid player, but, not a lot of history here. So, yeah. I mean, the course does fit his game. It's a not very long course, but lets him do what he does with his irons, which is key for him. So I do like Noren. He will go low owned, but I probably won't have too much of him. Brian Harman, another guy that very mixed results here, and really fell off the rails 4 weeks ago. Took a month off here, but he was on a heater before that. So for me, I'm probably going to be avoiding Harman this week. Just not a guy that I really want to be burned by. Very boom bust, and here it's been just that. So I'm probably going to be avoiding him. I mean, his results, he has 2 good results here and 4 blah results. So I'm more likely to fade him than I am to play him. Daniel Berger is another guy I've heard a lot of people are going back to the well with this week, but he was 9 over. He was dead. He was almost dead last at the Genesis over 2 days. And he was coming into that tournament with really good form. So even the stats were suggesting that Berger would fit really well at Genesis, and he sucked. Um, I saw him there. He just played terribly. He lost strokes everywhere. So I'm just not going to be playing him this week. Yeah, I'm not going back to that well. Guy I will go back to after one missed cut 3 weeks ago is Russell Knox, especially on FanDuel at 9,400. That is a lock and load price. Um, he fits this course really well. Not a bomber, but gets the job done. Missed the cut last year here, but last year was a very not great year for him. But he has third, second in the past here. So this is a place where I think Knox can play really well, and I will be definitely having him in FanDuel Cash. I can tell you that. Fantasy draft, he's priced pretty appropriately. DraftKings, I think he's overpriced. Nobody's going to play him at 9K, so you could play him in GPPs and leverage there. If you're going to get a lower owned guy due to price and you think he does well, like I do, it makes sense to take those shares of him because if he does do well and you get that lower ownership, then you are putting yourself at an advantage. Now, you will have to sacrifice price elsewhere, but you can also you can mix in some chalk with your lower owned Russell Knoxes. So, Webb Simpson, I'm not going to really be on here. Hasn't played this tournament in like 6 years. Even before then, 2 missed cuts in the 24th, and he was super chalky 3 weeks ago, burned everyone. So, for me, not going to really be on Webb too much. Adam Scott, interesting because of his history here, but we saw this last week. He had great history at the Genesis Open, and he came out and was 53rd. I saw some pundit expert guys say, play Adam Scott this week. If you played him last week, you were rewarded. I don't know how you were rewarded with a 53rd. Yeah, like, okay, it was better than Ollie's missed cut, but 53rd isn't anything great, and his short game has been atrocious. So really, you're relying on him to make some putts this week and really vault himself off the leaderboard, and I'm just not sure he's capable of doing that right now. His putter has been so bad for like months, and his around the green game has been pretty bad too. So I'm going to be kind of fading Adam Scott here. I will let people chase because of the history, but personally, I don't really love going there. I mean, if he didn't do well last week at a course where he has elite history, doesn't really suggest to me that he'll be able to do it this week. He, 53rd, you might say that he's turning things around a little bit, but I don't really want to go there for that. I think he has a chance to really burn a lot of people this week, and I just won't be on that train. Snedeker is interesting. He's trending up in form after coming back from injury, but I think this tournament he's only really playing due to that exact thing, where he's coming off of injury and wants to get some reps in order to try to get into the Masters. I don't think this is the place for him. This course should fit his game pretty well, but his ball striking stats have been pretty poor, and he's been doing a lot with the short game, which I don't think is going to help him as much here. If he can't get the ball on the green in the first place, there's a lot of hazards here, so I'll be taking a wait and see with Snedeker. He's also overpriced on all sites for me. Chesson Hadley is one of my core plays this week. 2 top 25s here in the last 4 years. 1 missed cut, but that happens. He has not missed a cut yet this year, and he has a lot of very good results. So I will be going back to Chesson Hadley on all sites pretty much. He is one of my core plays across all the sites. So not too much else to say there. I think he will be chalky, but he is chalk that I'm going to be playing. Jason Duffner, I like Duffner across the board on all sites too. I don't think you're getting like great value on him, but I think he is a very safe play here. Has not missed a cut in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starts here, and he has been very solid this year as well. His course apparently correlates well with Wailea, where the Sony Open is played, and Colonial Country Club. So those are courses where Duffner has played well in the past. But birdie or better, bogey avoidance, par 4 scoring. That's Duffner's game right now, and that's all he's doing well. So I really like Duffner here. He's going to be a staple in my lineups. Cash GPP, I will have him. I don't know how owned he will be because there's not that value on him that we see with some of these other guys. So I just think he's a safe play and fits my build well. So I will be on him. I will be on him here too. If you're asking Duffner or Hatton on a site like FanDuel where they're pretty close in price, I would lean Hatton due to upside, but if you're looking for pure safety, I think Duffner may be the safer play. Kisner is a guy I'm not going to really be on this week. He has steadily went down in form, and his history here is average, mediocre at best. Now, his course should fit his game well, but he has not been getting the job done with his approaches this year so far. That's going to be a big problem here. So I'm going to be fading Kevin Kisner. Ollie, I'm going to go back to the well in GPPs. Ollie is a great Bermuda putter, and the ball flight of Ollie, which is a very low penetrating ball, should do well in the wind here. So, ninth 3 years ago, and some very solid results so far this year, just intermingled some missed cuts. I think Ollie is not a core play for me. I've learned my lesson there. But he is a GPP play this week for sure. Patrick Reed, I am not playing. He burned me, and I'm not playing him this week. That's all I'm saying about him. Rafa Cabrera-Bello is also going to be a core play for me. Not on FanDuel so much. I should unbold that. But DraftKings and Fantasy Draft, I really do like RCB. 37th here last year and 226th in his 2 American appearances here. This year. So I really do like RCB. Great ball striker, gets the job done. Sometimes his putter lets him down a bit, but I think this week is a week where he can grind out a good finish, and it's going to be hard for the putter to really let him down here, considering he's getting on the green. These other guys are going to have problems out of the rough. So if RCB gives a stroke back putting, I think these other guys might be giving him back around the green. If they're not putting themselves in the positions that he will. So RCB, core play for me on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft particularly. I should note with Fantasy Draft at this point that you will be drafting 7 golfers, but the lowest score golfer does not count. So that introduces a strategy aspect where you can either build a lineup you really like and just assume that one of these guys is going to fuck you over. And it won't really fuck you over if only one of them does that. That said, you can also go really stars and scrubs, play one of these bums down here. You can play like CT Pan and just hope for another course history thing, or Sean O'Hare you could play, or Wes Bryan with the course history, or Stuart Sink. You could toss a John Hunt in there and just build the rest of your lineup with some studs. You can do that. That is a viable strategy. I think there are enough underpriced guys this week that I like on that site where I'm not really taking that approach, but some weeks it really does make sense if the pricing is super sharp. I think there are some questionable odds this week, so I think the pricing lets you go really balanced on that site and still. I think my risk is going to be in the mid-range, actually, with a guy we'll get to. Russell Henley. He has a win here, and he also has 3 other good results with 1 miscut. This year he's been pretty up and down, which makes him more of a GPP play for me on sites like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Fantasy Draft. I think if you're in that Fantasy Draft 50-1 range, I would rank these guys. I have my ranks, actually. There they are. I forgot that I did this last night. So I'll run them down real quick. Fowler, Sergio, JT, Rory, Hatton, Fleetwood, Noren, RCB, Woodland, Duffner, Keimer, who we haven't gotten to, Harmon, that's a questionable one, Harmon, Louis, Knox, Hadley, Snedeker, Kind of do want to move Snedeker down. Kazire, Henley, Ollie. Now we're getting the fun. Graham McDowell, Sam Saunders, Patrick Reed, Webb Simpson, Adam Scott, who's 25, Charles Howell III, Scott Stallings, Billy Horschel, John Huh, Ian Poulter, Dylan Fratelli. Those will be my top 30 ranked this week. Now that's just a combination of that's how I would, rate these guys. So I'm trying to get the most of those top guys that I really like in my lineups. That said, people are going to be on those guys too. So you're going to want to take some shots somewhere else. So back to Henley. I like him, but I think he's more of a GPP play this week. We're kind of getting into that stretch where he's looking into the Texas run where he always wins the Shell Houston Open. So I do like Henley here, but I'm not in love with the play. I like Hadley better at 50-1 and 7,700 on DraftKings. FanDuel, I'd rather play Hadley, but I do think Henley is a great GPP play. Fantasy draft, I like Duffner and Hadley more safe at that price. RCB as well. Patton Kizzire is a really interesting play. I'm not sure how much traction he's going to get here, but he has 3 made cuts here out of 3 tries, and he has been super solid all year. This course really fits his game well, and I like him here a lot. 7,300 on DraftKings is too cheap for him. He's arguably one of the best odds value plays on this board. Fantasy draft 14K, I like that. The way my lineup ended up, I was either on basically Duffner and RCB or Kizzire and Knox, and I'm just going to play both of those pairings because I really like those pairings. That said, FanDuel 9,600, I'm not really ending up there. I'd rather be playing Hadley than Kizzire, and I will have some Kizzire there, but I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him on DraftKings, where 7,300, we're getting into that range where if you can find that one value play that might put you over the hump, I think he might be it. Byung-Hun An is a guy that if he had played here in the past, I would feel a lot better about, but having not played here in the past, great ball striker, going to let you down with the putter. That's kind of his game. Played really well in Arizona at the Phoenix Open, Waste Management, but that is a course that we know he's been playing well at. It's a ball striker's course where you can pretty much bomb it out there, and putter doesn't really matter as much. But here, I don't know really what to make of him, so I'm going to kind of take a wait and see. I know I have him in blue as GPP. His FanDuel price is pretty damn cheap, 9,300, cheapest guy we've touched on so far, along with Ollie. I think those are GPP plays, and I think he's just a GPP play on all sites. Just we don't have that history really to go off of with him. I have a feeling he has a good record at Colonial, but I didn't look it up just because I wasn't really considering him as a core play. So if you want to look that up, you can. Charles Howell III. You look at the record here and you see a lot of numbers. That's what we want. We don't want X's. However, he only has one finish better than 25th here in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tries that we've gone through and put on this list. He has been very solid of late, but these are all West Coast events where he typically does do very well. So I like Kizzire over Howell, and pretty much on all sites there. I'm not going to be really playing him too much. I just don't think the upside is there with him here this week. Fratelli is very interesting. He is a money machine for me on Euro Tour, but his results over the past 3 months have just been out of this world. He's been really vaulting himself up the rankings. I hope he gets a shot in the Masters. I'd really like to see him make his not major debut. He played the PGA Championship, but I'd really like to see him get a shot at the Masters and just see what he can do there. He's a younger player that I rate very highly, so I do really, really like him here this week. In GPP formats, having not played much in the US, we know how it went for Julian Surrey when he came over as the Euro hotshot that everyone liked. Peter Uline, some mixed results with him as well. So Fratelli, GPP play only for me. And the price isn't really, you're not really getting that discount that you really want. You are on FanDuel, but DraftKings and Fantasy Draft odds too, you're not really getting the value that you might want when you're taking a shot like that. So more of a FanDuel GPP play for me. A lot of these Euro guys are very underpriced over there. But yeah. Graham McDowell's very interesting. I have him in bold because I really want to talk about him. I don't know what to do with him this week. He has a lot of very good results here. Top 15s in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 8 times here. And 26th last week at Genesis at a course that does not fit him at all. He was on the leaderboard for a while. Of course, does not fit him at all. And he was missing a lot of cuts before that. He hasn't really been playing too well this year. I believe he missed the cut at Pebble, which doesn't really bode well for him, considering he won a major there. Pebble's a course that should fit him pretty well, when you look at it, but just didn't run well there. Ran well at the Genesis. I don't really know what he did well at the Genesis to really boost him up. I'm assuming some of the off the tee stuff was good. If his approach is 52nd in the field, 36th in ball striking. I'm assuming his approach game was somewhere like 20th, 18th, or off the tee game was 20th, 18th in the past 5 tournaments here. But yeah, I'm not sure what I want to do with him. I think Kazire is the safer option with the form and decent history in a cash game. McDowell makes more of a GPP play for me if he can find that form that he's had at this course in the past. We know he's a great win player, and we know he does better on these shorter courses where the bombers are kind of taken out of play. One thing I do want to talk about with this course that I'd like someone to touch on, maybe just start a conversation with me about it on Twitter, is I don't know, when you're taking, this is a less than driver course. These guys aren't going to be pulling driver and hooking them into the water, like some of these other courses where you can go in the rough, like Augusta, you can go in the rough and you'll be all right. Here, you don't want to be in the rough. You do not want to be in the water. So these guys are not going to be pulling driver, and that helps a guy like Woodland, who driver's a bit inaccurate. Goes to the 3-wood, still hits it further than almost anyone else, but he's more accurate with it. So when other guys are pulling driver and hitting the fairway, Woodland wants to be doing that too, but he's a little more inaccurate. He doesn't want to be giving up that distance advantage he has. That said, my question is, when you take the driver out of these guys' hands, is driving accuracy as a stat really as important? Because driving accuracy really, you're going to be seeing a lot of driver hits. So just because a guy's inaccurate with his driver doesn't really mean that he's going to be inaccurate with his 3-wood or when he clubs down to maybe a 2-iron or something. So really interesting question there that I don't know if we have good answers to. I wish there was like a 3-wood specific accuracy metric or something of that nature, but until we have that, I'm just going to throw that question out there. It makes it hard to really analyze some of these less than driver courses. I know FutureFantasy.com has some less than driver specialists who play better in tournaments where it's particularly less than driver, but you can check that list out, but I didn't want to weigh things too heavily there. Louis Oosthuizen, interesting. He had a little bit of a finger injury a few weeks back. Hasn't really been playing super well in the Euro Tour, but he's taken some time off. I think he is feeling better. He gets to sleep in his own bed here. He lives nearby. 21st last year. Other than that, the record here has been very spotty, so I don't really consider Louis a cash play, but I do think he's a GPP play this week. You could put him in a cash build, and I wouldn't hate it, but at the same time, I think he's more of a GPP play this week. That said, he is a great player and has the tools to play really well here. Martin Keimer's the grinder. Fourth place last year here. Very good results. He's made 89% of his cuts over the past 3 years or something absurd. So very safe play. I like him a lot in cash on all sites. Ryan Moore, I'm not going to be on him too much here. He just hasn't been playing too well besides the 9th last week. And he hasn't really played this event well in the past either. So I'm just going to take a wait and see on Ryan Moore. Scott Piercy is a ball striker, and that's what we like to see here. But I'm just not really going to be on him too much this week. I think there's more downside with Piercy, and he's not a very safe play. Scott Stallings, this is more of a FanDuel play where he's underpriced given, just his recent form. 23rd, 7th, 4th the last 3 weeks. That trend up is very good. He's just been playing well, and with 2 good results here and 2 bad results here, I think you can take a shot on him in GPP formats given the way he's been playing. Thomas Peters, I will be fading. I don't like that Sunday meltdown. Tiger is also going to be a fade for me. I think if you take the driver out of Tiger's hands right now, he may be able to hit some more fairways. His putting has been good so far, and he has a second here in the past, but not going to be a guy that I'm really on too much this week. More of if he wins, I'd be happy for him, but I don't really want him on my DFS teams. Kiradesh Aphibarnrat, coming over from the Euro Tour, the Thailand guy here, going to be smoking the cigs out on the course. That's what he's known for. A little tubby Thai guy. No stats, no history. Good results here good results over the last few months. It's been very, very solid. I think he has 10 of 10 cuts made for DK Euros so far. Won the Super 6 match play BS event that I was talking about that Hatton pulled out of. He's a grinder, he's a competitor. I don't know how well his game fits this course, to be honest. I don't watch too much of him, so I can't really tell you. But I think he is worth some shots in a GPP format just because of the caliber of player he is. He's got that wily veteran savvy that you would look for. But like I said, it's more of a GPP only play just because, when we see these guys come over, sometimes they don't do too well. So Ryan Palmer is another GPP play for me. Very good results here in the past, but mixed results so far this year after a pretty bad year last year. So with Palmer, I think it's a GPP play only. Wiesberger's going to be a fade for me. Very solid on the Euro Tour, but he was very solid on the Euro Tour last year and then came over here, or 2 years ago, missed the cut. More of a player I want to target in Texas and potentially at the Masters even, if he's a good value there. Those courses kind of fit him more, and he's played well in those courses in the past. So that's my take on Burned. Bud Cauley, I'm going to be off of. Emiliano Grillo, Cauley's just overpriced to me. Grillo I like, but I don't think he has much upside here, so I will be avoiding him. Ian Poulter is a GPP play. Been very solid at this course, but hasn't really flashed too much upside besides a 5th place a few years ago when he was leading and then went for a swim. So I like Poulter, but I don't love it. I'd rather be playing Kazire for 100 more. But I do think Poulter will go low-owned, good GPP option. Lahiri, I don't mind. He'll put up the big numbers sometimes, but 11th here last year is nice to see, and I played pretty well at the Genesis last week, so he's a play you can consider. I wouldn't play him as a core play by any means. Billy Horschel, very mixed results here, but fourth and eighth in the last 2 years. That said, he has missed two cuts in a row and hasn't really been solid this year. So I'm going to be taking a wait and see, but GPP only approach with Billy Horschel. Um, Johnny Vegas burned me, but I think he's a GPP play given his two of his last three results here and some of the form he flashed earlier in the season. Jimmy Walker's going to be a fade for me as well. Luke List is very interesting. One of these other guys where, you take the driver out of his hands, maybe that makes him a lot more accurate, and maybe that allows him better positioning on the course. Still going to be longer than a lot of these other guys with his 3-wood. And he's been playing well. His last three tournaments, 12th, 26th, 26th. So I like a little bit of Luke List this year, or this week. I mean, 10th here 2 years ago, so he can play well at this track. GPP only, we know what Luke List does. He goes up and down. He's like Keegan Bradley in that respect. But down in this range, I really want to talk about Sam Saunders. 14th 2 years ago here, 17th way long ago. But his last four tournaments have been 26th, 26th, 8th, and 25th. Now, that looks like four top 25s to me. He's been playing just as well as Rafa Cabrera Bello, basically, in results. And, he's been putting really well. His around the green game has been great. And his driving accuracy has been really good as well. Not the longest of hitters, but his accuracy has been on point. And that's what I like to see here. He's kind of just really solid right now. And 7,100, 8,400 on FanDuel, 12,700 on Fantasy Draft. I really like all those prices. This play does have the potential to blow up on us because Sam Saunders long term has not been the golfer that we've seen the last four tournaments that he's played, but I do really like him here, and I have some confidence in him. I can see myself playing him in a cash game and not hating myself. William McGirt is going to be a fade for me. Brian Gay, the same. John Huh has some mixed results here, and he's in good form, so I think he's a good GPP play. Luke Donald, very good form, or very good results here, and showed up last week at Genesis, which was interesting to see, nice to see from him. So I do like Luke Donald here as well as a GPP only play. People don't play this guy just because he's not the same golfer that he used to be when he was world number one, but I think he still has the game to pop at some of these tracks. Sung Kang is a fade for me. Vaughn Taylor, you could take a shot on in GPP, but I don't love it. Stuart Sink, another guy. I don't think he has much upside, but if you need a $6,700 player and don't mind, potentially a miscut, but probably no more than top 25 upside, then that's your guy. Wes Bryant, 6,800, very volatile, I would say GPP only. 4th and 9th in his two appearances here, but he has shown nowhere near any sort of form this year. So for me, it's going to be a wait and see, but if you're taking that shot in GPP, clearly this course, something about it works for him. So that's one way you can approach Wes Bryant. Sean O'Hare is kind of in the same boat where the form isn't there, but the history suggests that he can do well here. Tom Hoagie, I'm going to be fading. I think he's cooled off to the point where I don't need to play him. And CT Pan, the Aviators on. I think he can do well here, but again, just not going to be going there. So you can consult this sheet for anything you might need. I pretty much went through all my plays. I'll pull up the Euro stuff real quick. I made a little bit of a thing here for that. Thorbjorn Olesen is the top price golfer, best odds to win, but he's only 16-1, so we don't really see a top heavy field like we have in some of these prior weeks with Rory at like 8-1 at Abu Dhabi or something, I forget. But yeah, Olesen, not really my guy here. I mean, he's got some good results, but besides that, nothing special. Sullivan seems very safe up here. Chris Wood, 2nd last week and 11th here last year, also has a win here. I like Chris Wood here a lot. Young Hung Wang. Been a very good player this year and won here last year, so I like him. When you win somewhere, it's obviously a good sign that your course fit is high. So I do like him here. A little bit of a discount from these other guys, so I like him. Surrey, I'm going to be fading. Detry's been very solid this year, but yeah, I mean the price reflects that. Uh, Coetzee, 13th last week at some bullshit pro-am event that a lot of South Africans played. History here, very, very, very good. Miscut last year, though, is a concern. I'd hop back on. I don't play Euro heavily, but I'd still like to analyze it just for fun. Han at 33 to 1, 9,200. Pretty good form, fourth last week, so I like him. Sharma, my boy, cooled off after 2 wins in like his last 5 tournaments, which is insane. But yeah, cooled off a little bit, so I'm not going to really be on him too much. The price is still a little high. Bjork has one good result here and some up and down history. Kind of looking like an Ollie, but I like him in GPPs this week. Benjamin Hebert, 40 to 1, 8,800. Decent history here, very good form. I like him. Jordan Smith, I like him here too. History, 6th place last year, 26th last week. Good stuff. Richie Ramsey, I'm not really sure what to do with him. I know he pulled out of last week and burned some people. But, I don't know what to do with him. He's probably overpriced given his results here. Jeff Winther, another guy, good form, but not really much history at all, so I'm going to be fading him. Zanotti, I don't really want to play Zanotti this week. Colsaerts, I really like Colsaerts' history here. Form, not been that great, but if this is a bomber's course, like some people say, Colsaerts is a bomber. Nino Bertazio, 48th last year here. Pretty good form, so I like that play. Van Rooyen, I like. Otegui, history bad, form good. So that's my take on him. Lara Fabo, I like this week as a value play. Kiefer, decent form, history up and down, so I think he's more of a GPP guy. Kinholtz, no history, very good form. Horsey, decent overall, not really too much of a hot take on him. Wallace, probably not going to be playing him. Matthew Pavone, you could play, don't love it. Southgate, good form, but no history. Gallagher, I really like. Lorenzo Vera is a GPP play. Tanny Hara, I'm going to be fading. Stern has been really solid this year. You could play him in probably cash games. Pepperell's a GPP play. Kong Watmai is a GPP play. Miko Ilonen, GPP play. Aaron Rai, GPP play. Gregory Bordy, fade. JD, I'll probably be fading. Aiken has very good history here, but his form has been bad, so do with that what you will. Slattery, I don't really like here too much. Lagergren, bad form, but the results here have been good. Pavon, good form, bad results. Jerigard, good history, bad form. Carlson, good history, bad form. Thomas Bjorn, down here at the bottom, is a decent looking value play for me for a made cut, but not too much else. And throw a yawn in there. That's all I got for you this week. I'll do a little write-up when I post the video. But, yeah, I think I went through everything pretty effectively there. So, yeah, that's all I got. You can shoot me your questions if you want some advice, whatever you want. And Twitter at mandrews93DFS or in the Fan Cave Slack chat there. So let me know how you're feeling about this week and hit me with your questions, all of that good stuff. And let me know if there's anything else in the video that you'd like me to touch on in the future. I'd like to increase the viewership as much as I can, so knowing what people want to See and or hear is always helpful. So with that said, I'm going to be signing off, and I will see you next week at the, I believe it's WGC Mexico. Not expecting a great field for that event, probably because Stenson got the shits last year due to the water. That probably makes people not want to go there. But yeah, have a good week. Best of luck. Let's get the money.